Ecology Part 2, Biomes and Population Growth. So let's first talk about biomes. They are a group of similar ecosystems that can be found throughout different places on the Earth. Again, they're going to have similar precipitation and similar temperatures. So deserts can be found in the United States, can be found in Africa, but they all have a similar climate. The abiotic factors that determine biomes, again, are going to be temperature and precipitation. The tropical rainforest has hot temperatures, wet weather, usually high precipitation, lots of plants with dense trees, but very little grass, and poor soil. They have high biological diversity, and they're near the equator. Temperate deciduous forests have all 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. They have moderate precipitation, rich soil, dense trees, mostly hardwoods, and grasses are sparse, and they have a rich diversity. Northwestern coniferous forests, talking about the pine trees, high precipitation, mild summers but cold winters. Their soil is rocky and acidic. Dense pine trees, grasses are sparse, and low biodiversity. Arctic tundra, cold with permafrost. You hear the word tundra, you should think permafrost. Tundra, permafrost. Low precipitation. Most of the precipitation is actually trapped up in the permafrost and the snow. Poor soil, trees are absent, moderate or to medium grasses, and low biodiversity. Deserts are dry, hot during the day, but can be cold at night. Large range of temperature during the day. Poor soil, sparse trees, sparse grasses, but moderate diversity. The boreal forest, aka also known as the taiga. Boreal forest, taiga. Boreal forest, taiga. Moderate precipitation. Summers are mild, long, severe winters though. Again, short summers. And soil is going to be poor and acidic, dense coniferous forests, and sparse grasses, and moderate diversity. Temperate grasslands. Well, they're going to have rich soil, so have lots of grass, but absence of shrubs and trees. Summers are long and hot, and they have cold winters and low precipitation with winter snow and moderate diversity. The tropical grasslands or savanna. So again, grassland, savanna. Mild temperatures, variable precipitation. They do have a rainy season in the summertime. They have clay soil, sparse trees, and dense grasses, known grasslands. Moderate diversity. A climatograph. A climatograph talks about the climate, and when we think about the climate, we think of 2 things: temperature and precipitation. Both of these are going to be plotted on the same graph. Now, we use one of the y-axes to plot one of them, and the other y-axis to plot the other. They both use a common x-axis at the bottom. Let's take a look. So the climatograph for Atlanta, we're looking at precipitation and temperature. Precipitation will use this left y-axis, and we see that it's done in a bar graph. Over here, we're going to look at temperature using the right y-axis, and we see it as a line graph. This is so that we can see both temperature and precipitation on the same graph. And it's called a climatograph. We will be making these for each of the biomes that we'll be looking at next week. How populations grow. Characteristics of a population. We've got 3 important things: geographic distribution, density of a population, and the growth rate. Population density is the number of individuals per unit area. There are 3 factors that can affect the size: number of births, number of deaths, those make sense, and whether or not individuals can enter and leave. Immigration is the movement of individuals into an area, causing the population to grow. Immigration is the movement of individuals out of an area, causing the population to decrease. Immigration, with an I, they come in. Immigration, with an E, they exit. Immigration with an I, they come in. Immigration with an E, they exit. The way you can remember it. Exponential growth. So there's two types of growth. One is exponential. It's when a population reproduces at a constant rate, continually going, just like keep going, and they don't ever stop, and they have unlimited resources, ideal conditions, have everything they want, everything they need, and they just keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. This is also known as the J-shaped curve. Logistic growth. We see a slowdown of growth after an exponential growth phase. As resources become less available or limited, growth slows down or stops. We have limited resources. Again, they tend to stop after an exponential growth phase. This slowing down or stopping is typically at the carrying capacity, which is the largest number of individuals of a particular species that a given environment can support for a long period of time. Let's look at these two curves. We've got our exponential growth, which is known as a J-shaped curve because it looks like a J. We see this lag phase, which is when the organisms are getting used to the new environment. And then we see this exponential growth, and they just keep going and going and going and going, and they're gone. And they keep going. Exponential, unlimited resources. Logistic curve, or the S-shaped curve, because it looks like an S. We still see this lag phase. Again, this is when the organisms are getting used to their environment. We see a short period of exponential growth where things are going good. We have plenty of resources. We have low number of populations, so they have everything they want. And then we start not having enough. We have the limited resources, so our population growth slows down. And then we see this stabilizing phase that hovers around the carrying capacity. Again, it may go up a little bit, but then it comes back down and then goes up a little bit more, or it may just stay directly on or at the carrying capacity. If a population goes above the carrying capacity and stays above the carrying capacity for a while, it may use up all the resources and then have none left, and we'll see them just fall and die. Limits to growth. Limiting factors. Biotic factors and abiotic factors that restrict the existence, number, reproduction, or distribution of the organisms. Examples would be the timberline on the mountains. Where the timberline stops, certain organisms can't go past that or live and survive past that because they need that timber or that shade to actually survive. Density-dependent factors. So these factors depend on the density. If there's very low number, then we don't really see this. But as the population gets denser and denser and denser, and there's more and more and more, we'll see these factors. These include competition. So as the population number increases, we see more competition, more predation, more parasitism, and more disease. Competition occurs when a population becomes crowded and organisms compete with one another for food, space, water, sunlight, and other essentials. We have intraspecies competition within the same species. We also see interspecies competition, which is members of different species competing. This tends to result in the organisms occupying different niches or different jobs. Because remember, with competitive exclusion, no two organisms can inhabit the same niche at the same time in the same place. One will have to go and do something else. A fundamental niche. A fundamental niche is the entire range of conditions where an organism or species could survive. It's all the things that you could do. Now, your realized niche is the actual niche or the actual job a species occupies in a community. Now, fundamental niche, I could be a teacher, I could be a tutor, I could do daycare, I could go and help out with environmental management, I could go work for the CDC. So all of my different ranges would be my fundamental niche. Those are places where I could survive. Now my realized niche, my actual job, would be a teacher. That is what I do. Predation. Predator-prey relationships are controlled by the population. Harmful to one, yet beneficial to the other. One will capture and kill and consume the other. Parasitism and disease. Parasites are organisms that range from size from microscopic to where you can't see them, to disease-causing bacteria, to a tapeworm that could be 30 centimeters long. They take nourishment at the expense of the host, and often weaken them, causing disease or death. Again, as the population increases, we see more of this. These are density-dependent factors. Now, density-independent. These factors don't care if there are 2 in your population or if there are 20 million in your population. They all affect the populations in a similar way, regardless of population size. Example, unusual weather, natural disasters, seasonal cycles, and certain human activities, such as damming rivers or clear-cutting forests. Again, a tornado does not care if it's hitting an unpopulated area or a populated area. So, density-independent factors don't care how many individuals are there. Bye for now.